What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and let's dive into the last little bits as we round out our Tasha's Cauldron of Everything coverage. I am going to be doing, for lack of a better term, a completionist run of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, kind of giving you a little bit of everything, whereas with other books, I might have just stopped at this point, and honestly, most of you out there are probably not that interested in Tasha's Cauldron anymore. It's been on the table for over a month, almost a month and a half, coming up on 2 months, really. And you're probably gearing up for the next release, which I'm assuming we'll see in March. So look for an announcement, I'd say, for the next D&D book mid to end of January, if it follows what we've seen so far. That being said, I want to jump into supernatural regions. So we're in the environmental hazards section at the end of the DM tools. And we're going to do this whole video on supernatural hazards because there are percentile tables for all of them, so there's a lot to cover. And I don't think I'm going to go through and read line by line every single one because that would just take forever. But that's enough rambling from me. If you like what I do here and you like this kind of stuff, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps me, it helps the channel, it drives those numbers up, the algorithm, and all that good YouTube stuff. And I did want to say, starting this Thursday on my Twitch channel, because I do stream every Tuesday currently on Twitch, and that'll increase as more new campaigns and stuff come online. But starting this Thursday night, the 7th of January, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I will be, I worked something out with Larian Studios, the folks behind Baldur's Gate 3, so they are going to be helping me and my friends do a Baldur's Gate 3 stream. It's in early access. I've got a bunch of my friends from other campaigns and stuff you've seen on the internet. We're all gonna basically start a character creation and play through Baldur's Gate 3, at least the first act that's available in early access, pretty much as until the campaign, until we run out of content, basically. And then maybe do some Q&As with the devs and fun things like that. So if video games, Baldur's Gate 3, any of that stuff interests you and you like me and the friends I play games with, we're going to start a stream starting Thursday. All right, that's enough of that. Let's talk about environmental hazards. So these are going to, you'll see it's broken up into 3 sections over here on the left-hand side: supernatural regions, magical phenomenon, and natural hazards. Some of the natural hazards you've probably already seen or are familiar with, right? Heavy winds, volcanoes, icy water, blah, blah, blah. Supernatural regions is something alluded to in the Dungeon Master's Guide and primarily based around other planes of existence, from what I could tell. This is going to give you a little bit more, and it's not just bad things, it's also good things, which is neat. So it says right here, not all lands thrive as nature intended. Magical forces and various things can cause changes to the land and the creatures around. That mentions flora, fauna, structures, and so on. A supernatural region is permeated by a preternatural force in an area as large or as small as you wish. The descriptions summarize the region, present a table of potential effects within said region, and triggers that may happen at random, right? So some of these, again, think like if you are on a wholly good plane, like let's say Mount Celestia, right? One of the lawful good, super great planes of existence. The good stuff could just be an effect of the realm, period, right? Or if you're in the 9 hells, maybe it's the same thing there, but the bad stuff. And you'll see as we go through this. But maybe a world in your pre-existing campaign setting that you're playing through and you want to spice up a little bit. Maybe in your homebrew world, there was some sort of thing dealing with an ancient power of evil, an ancient power of good, an epic battle, some cleansing of a region by a powerful cleric, druid, or so on, and that alters the region. And that, I think, is probably cooler than just the plane has this on it. You know, this is a city in a druid's grove that's protected by magical unicorns, and then it has the Blessed Radiance feature, something like that. So, the effects of the region occur whenever you please, at the time each description suggests, or under one or more of the following circumstances. The party first enters the region, a creature loses more than half their hit points, a creature casts a spell of first level or higher, when a creature activates a magic item, when a creature makes an exceptionally loud noise or otherwise attracts attention, or when the party spends at least 30 minutes in the region. Now think about that, folks. This is essentially, in some instances, almost like a wild magic surge. Now, again, wild magic surge, I feel like mostly has a negative, or at least a very chaotic connotation. It's just by its design. Some of these don't have to be like that, but they give you some sections, right? It's whenever you please, as the DM, whenever at the time the description suggests, which I guess that means each one will have a suggested time frame, or these lists of several triggers. So basically whatever you want, which I think is probably the big one, but this whole concept of wizards giving DMs more direction says, well, it can happen whenever you want it to. But if you don't feel comfortable just throwing it in at random, here's a list of things you could possibly use. So let's talk about Blessed Radiance. The grace of the upper planes touches said region. Consider rolling on the Blessed Radiance table effects when the following circumstances occur in that region. Right here we have those specific occurrences. Creature succeeds on a saving throw compelled by the abilities of a fiend or an undead. They're the target of a cleric or paladin spell of 3rd level or higher. They score a critical hit against a fiend or undead, or they experience an epiphany or inspiring triumph in the service of righteousness or in defiance of wickedness. And here you can see a Blessed Kieran Shrine here. And then there's a D100 table, right? And we have these for all of them. And you can see they're not, it's kind of, I don't know if the exact number, but you can see they're sort of split. So we'll just look through a handful of these and just see, right? It says the lowest one here is Golden Light fills a 20-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder centered on a character in the region. That character and their friends in the cylinder get the benefits of the Divine Favor spell. That's a D4 radiant damage added to any attacks, weapon attacks that they make. We can jump up a little bit. Let's see. One character in the region is suffused with celestial power. For 1 minute, their melee attacks deal an extra 2d6 radiant damage on a hit. We have here a flying gleaming sword appears within 60 feet of an aberration fiend undead, which becomes the sword's new target. It deals radiant damage instead of slashing and knows the exact location of its target. The sword vanishes when it or its target is reduced to 0 hit points. So we jump up to a little higher power stuff here. Let's go. The effects of a Hallow spell with one of its effects, extra effects, the DM's choice, settle over the region for 24 hours. If we go all the way up to the highest 2 on this list, one character in the region permanently gains resistance to necrotic damage. Or, lastly, one character in the region gains the ability to use Divine Intervention, the Cleric feature, which succeeds automatically. The character can use this feature granted in this way once and must use it within 7 days. Reroll if you've already rolled this effect. So they get a guaranteed use of Divine Intervention once within the next 7 days. You can see, obviously, some of them are pretty nice. Some of these get, like you said, some of these here are letting you cast certain spells. Yeah, I think the clear winner is just a permanent resistance to necrotic damage. But all right, next up we have the Far Realm, right? This is where all the funky, weird aberrations come from, mind flayers, beholders, and so on. This is a place of utter alien nature, eldritch horror in some ways. And it just is stuff that is not, you can see some nautilites here flying around in the Far Realm, mind flayer stuff. Consider rolling on the Far Realm effects table when the following circumstances occur. A warlock whose otherworldly patron is a Great Old One rolls a 1 or 20 on the d20 for an ability check, and attack roll, or saving throw. The characters take a short or long rest within said region, or a character spends more than 1 hour reading an eldritch tome written by those who have seen or otherwise interacted with the Far Realm. Again, this could be, a very subtle, like a thin veil between the Far Realm and our reality. It could be a place, maybe a crashed, nautiloid, mind flayer ship or a beholder ship crashes, and then this sort of affects that region with Far Realm energies. And then we have our Far Realm table. So let's just grab a couple on here. We'll look at the first one. A structure in the region whispers faintly. Any creatures within 60 feet of it can hear it, must make a wisdom saving throw or be charmed. While charmed, they must move towards the source of the whispering. When it reaches the source, it is incapacitated. They can repeat the saving throw at the end, if they take damage, or at the end of every hour. So that's not too bad. That's just kind of a nuisance. All right, let's see. Bizarre appendages squirm beneath the ground and around trees or other structures within the region. Dozens of limbs burst forth, entangling anyone within a 30-foot sphere surrounding one random creature. Each creature in the sphere must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take bludgeoning damage and be restrained. At the end of each of their dresses, basically like an Evard's Black Tentacles, but in a region. And as far as I can tell, that doesn't end. That's just a permanent fixture of that region now. Now let's jump up a little bit, see if we have anything other interesting. 91 to 95, glaring eyes which weep viscid tears appear on an inanimate object throughout the region. Throughout the region. These eyes watch the characters and creatures within the region and can't be surprised by the characters for as long as the eyes exist. Creatures within the region can't be. And an eye closes and disappears if it takes any damage. Reroll if you've already gained this effect. And the last one here, a tear in reality creates a rift in the region similar to the gate spell that passes through the far realm and connects with a random plane. Any creature that enters the rift takes 10d10 psychic damage from the horrors of the far realm and appears in an empty space closest to the rift's opening on another random plane. The rift vanishes after 2d10 plus 2 hours. Okay, next up we have a haunted. So this could maybe be a typical haunted house, maybe a haunted land, Great War, settle, the kind of anything you'd see in any kind of Conjuring-y, Evil Dead-y sort of thing, right? The cabin in the woods, that kind of stuff, right? Consider rolling on the haunted effects when one of the following occurs within that region. A creature gains the frightened condition. Multiple creatures aren't able to see. This could be as simple as just darkness descending on them. A creature is alone, midnight or another ominous hour arrives, or a ghost or other creature tied to the region's grim history menaces the party. Okay, so up first we have a violent thunderstorm begins centered over the region. It doesn't end until the party leaves, right? So we got our lightning strikes when people mention something, right? That's very horror movie-ish. One random creature's shadow acts independently for the next 24 hours. The shadow acts out of sync with its owner, perhaps dramatically choking or trying to murder another shadow. Completely harmless, just spooky. A non-violent but unsettling ghost, perhaps a pet, an accident-prone child, or dismembered big toe, appears and follows one creature for 24 hours before vanishing. The ghost vanishes if it's reduced to 0 hit points. A spirit inhabits one character's simple or martial weapon, making it a sentient magic item until the character leaves the region. Oh, it doesn't do anything super fun, but they have a sentient item now. For 24 hours, a luminous wisp of vapor floats above a corpse or grave in the region. If the wisp is put in the container, a creature holding the receptacle can cast the resurrection spell once, requiring no components and causing the wisp to vanish. Any creature returned to life in this way experiences strange dreams. This is basically like putting a Zelda fairy in a bottle to bring somebody back from the dead. And lastly, a mysterious mist rises from the shadows. The dense fog heavily obscures everything in a 50-foot radius. Any creature that starts their turn there must make a Constitution saving throw or gain a level of exhaustion. This exhaustion can't be removed while the creature is in the mist. Additionally, creatures notice unsettling sights in the fog, such as ominous ruins or soundless silhouettes fleeing in pursuit. They are dispersed. They can't be dispersed by wind, but they clear after a minute. All right, Infested, arguably more terrifying than the other ones because they're magic. This is just, look at this. This is an infested city. It's just got like spider webs everywhere. So this is just a bunch of stuff infests a area. This could be rats, this could be spiders, snakes, whatever you want, birds, butterflies, whatever tickles your fancy here. Swarms of insects become the dominant species in the area, consuming plants and animals, and so on. It looks like it is specifically, it says of insects outweighs the higher organisms. I think it would also be funny to do it with like rats or squirrels, but here's the table. Webs, cocoons, hives, anthills, or other insects are disturbed as a trigger. A creature attacks an insect swarm or smaller or larger insect, such as a giant centipede or giant spider, or a creature begins a short or long rest. And we have the lowest. Intense buzzing or grinding fill the region for 24 hours. With the exception of truly cacophonous sounds, creatures can only hear speech and noises within 10 feet. A cricket-shaped creature with the statistics of a cat bounds up to one random creature and follows it like an affectionate pet for 24 hours and then scampers off. Okay, interesting. That could be fun. The region is choked with wispy webbing. Access difficult terrain. Okay. One of the creatures in the region must make a wisdom saving throw, be turned into a giant spider. That could be bad news. Here we go. Tiny arachnids invade unattended spaces. The next time one random creature in the region dons its clothing or armor, after finishing a long rest, it must make a Constitution saving throw or take poison damage. It doesn't say that they're actually still in the clothing, but that could be also very terrifying for your players, depending on what they fear. And then lastly, countless tiny blood-sucking insects infest the region for the next 1d6 hours. Every hour, each creature in the region must make a con save or gain a level of exhaustion. The insects don't affect creatures that are immune to disease. All right, we have 3 more. We have the Mirror Zone. Let's see. Mirror zone occurs when planar magical energies create a plane of reflections. Creatures, objects, and energy. So this is your typical mirror thing, right? So you can see here, like, these people and the mirror's acting different. And this guy's got a knife instead of scissors. I didn't know such locations arise from the intrusion of a theorized plane of mirrors, which is something I've never heard of before. So that's interesting. Consider rolling on the mirror table when the following happens. A creature shatters a mirror, they use teleportation magic, an illusion appears, or a creature impersonates another creature. All right, so starting down low, creatures in the region begin to display features other than their own for the next 24 hours. During that time, affected creatures have advantage on charisma deception checks and ability checks made to disguise themselves. One character gains the benefit of a mirror image spell. That just looks like just a standard spell. A long sword or short sword with a blade made of jagged mirror appears in an unoccupied space within 60 feet. It is a sword of wounding. If the weapon's wielder rolls a 1 or 20 while using the weapon shatters and is destroyed. Floating shards of broken mirrors swirl through the region, showing reflections of creatures in places that aren't present for the next minute before vanishing. On initiative count 20, the shards make a ranged attack against a random creature, dealing slashing damage. Or a duplicate of a random creature in the region appears in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of that creature. The duplicate's appearance, game statistics, and equipment are identical. It immediately attacks that creature, seeking to slay it. If the duplicate dies, it and all of its equipment shatter into mirror shards. If the duplicate fails to slay the creature within an hour, it vanishes. We have Psychic Resonance. This is the second to last one. I guess this is going to deal with like your psionics and your mind magics. Consider rolling on the psionic resonance table. When a creature endures a powerful emotional experience, they take an amount of psychic damage greater than their constitution score. They become charmed or frightened, or a creature experiences telepathic communication. Here you can see sentient animals conversing with mental links. All right. On the low end, a creature in the region gains the ability to cast Detect Thoughts for once over the next 24 hours with no components. Using intelligence. Headaches and nosebleeds plague humanoids in the region, imposing disadvantage on perception checks for an hour. One random creature gains the ability to cast a telekinesis spell once for the next 24 hours. Compassion and Joy fill one random creature within the region for 1 minute. For the duration, they have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saves, and disadvantage on attack rolls. Or the mind of every beast in the region is flooded with psychic energy. This energy causes each beast's intelligence score to become 10 if it wasn't already higher, and the beast gains the ability to speak Common and Sylvan. These changes are permanent. That could be a really fun thing where people go into the woods and the entire forest is psychic and they could talk. That could be a really fun experience. It says legends are filled with natural forces from this Awake Anything section here. Mundane objects that take on humanoid characteristics to guide on or confound heroes, statues that sing, animals that whisper secrets. While monsters like elementals, Galebdur, and treants represent natural forces brought to life, not every chatty rock or sagacious stream, I don't know how you pronounce that, but anyway, needs a stat block. Perhaps you feel the adventurer party take a party to a land where plants speak freely, or a cursed realm where petrified souls beg for help. Don't feel restricted by the options in the monster manual, blah, blah, blah. All right, that's not really important. And lastly, Unraveling Magic. So I gotta imagine this is gonna be like areas of dead magic, areas of wild magic, things like that. Cataclysmic magical battles. This, again, could be a very interesting story you weave into the background. What could cause these to happen? Any charges are expended in a magic item. A spell slot of first level or higher is expended, or a dragon, a fae, or an elemental of challenge rating 5 or higher dies. All right, and then our tables, we have all magic items in the region temporarily lose their magic properties, becoming non-magic for an hour. Artifacts are unaffected. When they regain their magic, a creature's attunement to them is restored. That could be terrifying, depending on when that triggers. One random creature in the region that has spell slots expends one spell slot of a random level spell in a harmless shower of sparks and sounds. That could be super disappointing. Swirling energy surrounds one creature in the region for 24 hours. They have a resistance to force damage, and their speed is reduced by 10. Interesting. On initiative count 20, 2 random creatures in the region must each make a DC 15 charisma save. If they fail, they magically teleport, switching places. If both saves succeed, they don't teleport. During the next 24 hours, the first time a creature in the region targets another creature with a spell, the caster must make a saving throw of DC 11. Using their spellcasting ability. On a fail, they target the caster instead. On a successful save, the spell functions normally. Or lastly, one creature in the region can suddenly cast the Wish spell once within the next minute. Reroll if you've already rolled this effect. So that covers all of these supernatural regions, and some of them I feel also sort of fell into the magical phenomenon area, but we're going to dive into those next, and then we'll do natural hazards after that, and then finish up with just a touch on the puzzles to hit pretty much everything in there. Then I'm going to provide you a couple of opinion-based opinion-based videos, rather. I have a couple thoughts on this book as a whole that don't really fit into a sort of review of the different content. And then it's going to be on to something I haven't even thought of in months, or a month anyway, regular Nerd Immersion content where I just start making new stuff. So obviously I'll continue to do unboxings and other things like that as they come along. But I'm curious. Let me know in the comments if you have things you'd like to see me make a video on. It seems more often than not when people ask me questions, I've already done a video on a lot of stuff out there. Not saying I've done a video on everything, because I definitely haven't. But if you have something you'd like to see specifically, feel free to throw it in the comments. I can't guarantee that I'll get to it or get to it anytime soon, but I'm going to not turn down any ideas for videos. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.